Martin Kenny, 30 seconds.
We're after talking about rapid, and I'll tell you one thing, Minister, the Leader Fund is far from rapid. That's for sure, because there's nothing rapid about the pace in which people are getting their money around the country. It started in 2014 and now we're here in May 2018, and in my county of Leitrim, not one community project, not one person that applied for funding has got a red cent yet. Nothing. And that's an example, and this statistic that's here about 0.3% of funding is all that's been allocated.
Thank you.
That is an absolute scandal, Minister, and it's time to recognise that the way in which this has been put in place is not working.
Thank you very much. Leader funding is delivered through the local action groups, LAGs, in each of the 28 Leader sub-region areas across the country. Leader has a budget of £250 million up to the period of 2020, and £220 million of this total has been allocated to the LAGs for the delivery of their local development strategies. The amount of funding which is available for projects as outlined in the strategies developed by the LAGs is £164.5 million. The remainder of the £220 million covers the administration cost of the LAGs and their engagement with communities to generate projects. There is also an additional £30 million available for Leader schemes which will be delivered at a national level. These are at an early stage of delivery. As of the 31st of December 2017, almost 600 projects were approved for funding over 16.4 million. This accounted for 10% of the funding available for the projects of 164.5 million in the planned development by the local actions groups. As the Deputy will appreciate, these projects need to be implemented before they can submit payment claims and draw down funding. The pace of project approval has increased substantially in recent months, in line with the historic cycle of the Leader delivery. To date, over 900 projects with a total value of £27 million have been approved for Leader funding by the local action groups, representing over 16% of the project funding outlined in the LAG strategics. A further 320 projects with a value of £17.7 million are within the approval process. On the basis of the continuing increase in the level of project approvals, together with administrative improvements to Leader, which my department introduced over the last year, I anticipate a significant increase in the Leader projects in 2018.
Thank you very much, Minister. Deputy Kenny.
Minister, we know that. And in fairness, I'm not blaming you, but you're the person that's there now that's responsible. And the truth is that communities up and down the length and breadth of the country are at their wits' end. I'm coming across community projects that are saying never again are they going to apply for Leader. Never again are they going to go through this process, because it is scandalous the way they're being treated. I spoke this morning to somebody who works for one of the LAG projects, and they told me that they got back a thing from, I think it was from Pobble, that there was a 27-page document and that they had found a typo in it and that it needed to be corrected before they could proceed. And they had to search through that project to find a number that was put backwards. Just say it was 1710, it was 1701 instead on the document. That number was in the document about 10 times, but in one spot they found that it was backwards. And therefore, they put them back to go through all this again. Now, the first question I'd ask is who the name of God is paying this person to sit down and study a thing to that depth that they're going to find a typo and use that as an excuse for to hold up funding for a community project. And that's what they're doing up and down the length and breadth of the country, Minister. And it's time to call it out. It isn't working, it hasn't worked, it was a disaster from before it started, and it's time to say Leader needs to go back to the way it was in the old programme.
You will have a final minute. Minister, a minute.
Thank you very much, Cahill. I just want to say to the Deputy, we had a leader forum hosted last year by the previous Minister, Heather Humphreys. We made 31 changes to the programme. 31 changes. But wait a minute now. 29 of these were implemented by the LAGs. What I have to do is to make sure that this is working. I have met the national organisation, I have talked to them, now they tell me that this programme is working better. And I'll just give you some examples. Projects approved. This was up now to the 30th of April this year. To this week, projects approved was 592. That's the value of 16,412,000. That was up to 2017. Up to today, 929 projects to the value of 26,908,000. Now, I'll just give you your own county. They haven't proved since I gave you the figures of the committee last week. Leitrim, waiting for approvals, is 14 to the value of 831,000. So there's someone going in taking them down. 15 schemes have been approved to the value of 224,000. Now the programme is wrapping up. There is no doubt about it. Let's be honest and let's be fair. When these people get an application and they make an application to the LAGs, to the leader companies, when it's approved, if they're putting up a building, if they're putting up any kind of job that they're doing, whether it's a public building or whether it's a community building or a hall or a sporting organisation, they have to put the building in place. We will not pay them till the building is finished. We're not going to be prepaying them, giving them the money beforehand, so they have to wait for the money to be drawn down. So the projects are being approved, the scheme is beginning to wrap up, and I am confident that the leader programme is now beginning to work with the changes that we made as a government and as a department.
Deputy Kenny.
I'm not denying that, and I know that. And I know many of these projects that have been approved, and some of them have been approved in Leitrim, but many of them have not been approved, and they've been set aside on the most flimsy of criteria. The smallest little mistake, and out they go. And that's the problem, Minister. In the last programme, in fairness to the local development companies, they worked with people. If there was a little bit of a problem somewhere, they sorted it out and they resolved it. Now there's no working with anybody. You know, it's my way or the highway. And that's the problem that these community projects are meeting, up and down the length and breadth of the country. And, Minister, I absolutely understand that you're doing your best in regard to this. You know, and I'm not disputing that. But the fact is that when it comes to leader, the best just isn't enough. We're not getting the money out to the communities. People are not receiving this money. And the people who are receiving it are afraid of their lives when these inspectors come that they're going to find some problem with it and kick the whole lot out again. Because the process has been made far too complicated and the process has been made far too costly. There's too much money going on red tape and not enough money going to the people. And I think in fairness to you, you know that too. You know that. And if you know it, Minister, the time has come to call it out and say, look, what was made in the changes that were made in 2014 were an absolute mistake and we need to change it.
Thank you. Very quick comment, Deputy Bratton.